Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. On today's episode, Guitar-latans, the guitar charlatans that are trying to separate you from your hard-earned cash with nothing in return. Learn what to look out for next.
You know, it's like if your dad never paid the mortgage and then this month he also didn't pay the mortgage, it's reassuring to know that there's consistency.
We all need constants in life, so
Yeah.
am I not arming the track when...
Yeah, it feels right. At the
It
end of the day,
does.
you know what I mean? It's almost like, you know, I don't know, like some terrible pop song having auto-tune just makes you feel reassured. It's like, oh...
It's like the opposite of the Mandela effect.
They cared enough to not try at all.
Right. Yes. And speaking of caring enough to not try at all, today's topic.
We're going to call this Guitar-latans.
Yes, the charlatans of the guitar world.
Yes, and I think I feel disdain for the people perpetrating it, and I feel a lot of empathy for the people who are the victims of this, because a couple of reasons. One, when you start out wanting to learn an instrument, that's something that needs to be encouraged, and we need to sort of like rally around that person and say, yes, you should do this. This is a good choice. You know, it's really a valid thing that you're going to do, and we should, all of us who are in the guitar world, try and make it easier and make them feel supported, that they should be accepted into this land and make it feel like a fun place to be.
Right, and not throw up obstacles in the form of crappy guitars.
Yeah, and people just for whatever reason just are always playing or falling victim to this idea that learning guitar is quick and easy. Learn play guitar in 10 minutes.
Guitar Made Easy by Ralph Paul.
Exactly, or Esteban's Master Guitar Method. We'll be playing amazing music within 10 minutes.
Right, or like, man, how many times have you had a new student show up with an Esteban guitar or a Keith Urban guitar?
I've had the Keith Urban a couple times, and more than anything, I've always gotten like the sort of like Barbie guitars and stuff like that. Actually, by the way, before we even go too much further, let's just say welcome to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Ryan and Scott. Thank you for being here. We're already jumping into it.
Yep, Guitar-latans.
Guitar-latans.
Yes.
It's the Keith Urban guitar. I'm actually one of the places that I've taught used to sell that guitar.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, a retail location sold the Keith Urban guitar?
It was like a package or something like that.
Was it new?
I don't remember. I didn't remember like, oh,
Ew.
wait, what's funny, I remember someone saying, oh, look, there's a guy on there. I didn't even know who it was. And I was like, that's
okay.
right. Take this guy's guitar. They thought it was just like some kind of like model, like, you know, like you get like the picture frame.
So it was a stock photo.
Like what is a photo with a family in the picture frame? They just kind of, you know, it's not my family. It's just the frame that came with that.
Yeah, just the stock photo guitar person.
It's just something that, because this is an area that you and I have a ton of experience with because we're professional instructors. So it's one of those things where, you know, I feel like it's so obvious why it happens, because it's much easier to sell someone this is going to be quick and easy and it's not going to be painful at all and you'll be playing great stuff and there's going to be no effort required on your part. All you got to do is just show up and it's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? And I keep feeling like that should just obviously not. It should just, alarm bells should be going off everywhere. Nothing that's worth doing is easy. You know what I mean?
And I mean, man, I just don't know who orders a guitar from the Home Shopping Network.
For people who don't know anything. I mean, people who are not, because think about it, if you're like living someplace, like say you live in South Florida and you're a retiree and you have a grandson who wants to play guitar.
Well, I was going to say, does it just prey on the elderly as the stereotype
Isn't that the Home Shopping Network's thing? That's what they do.
Yeah, I guess so, man.
They're borderline elder abuse network. You know what I mean? That's
right. They're like the check cashing center of marketing.
Exactly. So, but if that person doesn't have any idea, they're not going to walk into a music store and ask questions because they're just intimidated to go into a place. They don't know anything about music, and you know, it's very safe to say, hey, my grandson Timmy wants to learn to play guitar, and that looks like a swell package. It's only $20 or whatever. I'll just order it and have it here for his birthday. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what it is. And to be honest with you, I'd rather they did that and have a guitar in their hands and maybe have some point down the line they're going to start learning to play that thing than become a DJ or something like that. Or
that's always interesting to me, because I always wonder, I also wonder this about music education. You know, how many people break through that, right? Like, how many people overcome a crappy first guitar? How many people overcome a crappy teacher?
Well, you and I both did. I mean, you and I were both like, we had crappy guitars to start with, and
we had crappy guitar. All my instructors were awesome.
I didn't. I had a really hard time finding a good instructor when I was younger. That was something that really shaped me into the instructor that I am now. Is all my bad experiences with all my other teachers. I don't think any of these guys had bad intentions. It's just they didn't know anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can say wholeheartedly all of the guitar teachers I ever had were awesome.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah, I lucked out, man. I should be a much better guitar player by now.
Nah, you did pretty good. You did pretty good. I remember. I think I've told this story on this podcast before, but just going to teacher, just trying to find a rock guy who knew anything. That was really hard. I was like going, okay, I like what you're playing, but like show me how to do that. And he would like literally show me that lick, and I go, no, like how do you know what to play? Like where is that coming from? And I want to be able to do that, you know. And you just sort of, back when I was a kid, you just find different people. I remember tacking back and forth between rock teachers and jazz teachers because I knew the jazz guy knew what he was talking about theoretically. Yeah, but he didn't know any of the rock stuff, and the rock guys could play, but they didn't know any of the theory. So it's one of those things where I was trying to find a guy like a rock guy who knew something.
Well, see, what you should have done is gone to your local Hilton hotel.
Yes.
And then the guy with the dark sunglasses, yeah, his name's Esteban.
Who studied with Segovia for like what decades?
Him and Segovia were great buddies, even though there's no mention of him.
True, but,
right? Yeah.
No, I think that's so just. I don't know. I mean, the Esteban thing, I'm torn in a way. I have so much ire towards that because it's such obvious charlatanism, you know, that he's got going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's showing someone a guitar, which nowadays is actually pretty good. We want to try and do everything we can to introduce guitar to people who are like, you know, under 20 in some level. And although we're talking about people probably north of 80.
Dude, again, that's a tough one. I harken back to when Guitar Hero hit big.
That's true. That was actually really helpful.
That was really helpful. It was, but I don't know if that's the same as Esteban or Lil Wayne playing a guitar.
I think the same feeling. Like at least if you're some kid who's a rap fan and you love Lil Wayne, seeing him pick up an Eddie Van Halen guitar and playing a solo, even as terrible as it was, just seeing that is going to make an impact, and I think that's going to be healthy for guitar. Because I mean, we've talked about those podcasts a million times. You know, rock guitar music is kind of seen as dad music. It's not cool. The kids don't see that and think, "Oh, this is for me." They think, "Oh, this is my dad or my grandpa's music."
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Seeing Lil Wayne playing an Eddie Van Halen guitar, even with the terrible solo that he did with his thumb, he can afford a guitar pick. Like I don't understand why he's using his thumb. But
it's so bad.
But that being said, at least there's a kid seeing someone playing electric guitar, which I'll take it, man. That's how bad it's gotten.
And you know what? It's an EVH guitar.
Yep, exactly.
So at least that, right?
So now people are gonna say, "Hey, I want to get one of those red and white striped Lil Wayne guitars."
Right, and you know what? That guitar, it won't have a Bigsby on it.
That's true. It's a real guitar. Yes.
Yeah, like it won't be like a Jag Stang. Yeah. So I guess thank you, Scott, for helping pull me around.
I just so horrified by everything about it. But
it's not an Esteban guitar, and it's not a Keith Urban guitar.
What I would say though is that I get it. There's a niche that those guys are trying to fill. They're trying to just be like the entry level, and they're trying to reassure people this is not going to be that hard. You can do it, which is kind of lying to people. It's going to be really hard. Like learning how to play guitar is hard.
It would be easier if you went to your local independently owned brick and mortar music store and spent like that same $200 on something like a Yamaha.
Yeah. Well, or just get a real guitar instructor who's going to walk you from nuts to bolts through how to play guitar.
Well, right, and that's what's going to happen when you go to your local music store. Yeah.
And one thing you have to realize, people, is that it's a commitment. Like learning how to play any instrument, whether it be, well, I mean, there's really only one instrument worth learning.
Guitar.
But you know, any instrument's going to be a commitment on your part. You have to realize it's going to be a many months, if not years, process, and you have to just take baby steps and work at it slowly. I mean, this is the reason they say this is going to be awesome guitar in 10 minutes, because like the real truth of the matter is it's going to be months before you're playing anything that remotely sounds like music. You know what I mean? Of hard work on your part, and you have to just be consistent and show up for work and keep chopping wood. You know, that's what you have to do to learn, and it's so obvious. It's something I think everybody intuitively knows that's how it works, but everyone lies to themselves too at the same time and says, no. He said it's easy, great guitar in 10 minutes. That's all I got to do. You know, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, anybody out there that's already a player, if you haven't seen I'm sure they're on YouTube now, but
the
if you
Esteban,
like watch the Esteban or the Ralph Paul infomercials, where it's, so I mean, even the configuration of the product, so it would be like an acoustic electric guitar, right? So it's like a dreadnought steel string acoustic guitar.
Yep.
With a piezoelectric pickup, meaning it's like it's like on your back when we used to have alarm clocks, there was that touch sensitive like alarm pad, or those who had a PlayStation 4 launch edition where you just touch the power, like it's not an actual moving mechanical button.
Sure.
It just there's piezoelectric crystals inside that sense you touching it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how acoustic electric guitars work.
Is that
folks.
kind of like the flavor crystals in Folgers coffee?
Kind of. Well, it's kind
same.
of like the Kyber crystals in a lightsaber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Now
only
we're
way
talking.
cooler because it's a guitar.
No, I mean, lightsabers are pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, guitars are better.
And
Anyway.
they are definitely better. But even the side note, I think a real lightsaber would be the most terrifying thing I could ever even imagine, though. I got this beam of energy that can cut through anything.
Yeah, well, Rick and Morty did a whole gag on that where someone dropped the lightsaber like pointing perfectly down, and then it just kept drilling all the way through the planet.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine if you like accidentally turn it on when you don't mean to? Like, how much damage you would cause?
Yeah,
It's like,
just don't drop it upside down or you'll core through the
I
earth.
wish the Jedi just throwing them around and stuff. It's like, oh my, that's a bad idea. That thing could kill literally anybody that comes.
Well,
near,
but I mean, not if you're in the Disney Star Wars universe. In which case, if you're a stormtrooper, it just bounces right off your armor.
That's not true. It cuts you in half, man.
If you're anthropomorphic in the Disney Star Wars universe, then you're fine.
Oh man, I think that they're the coolest and like at the same time terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, if they existed in my joint Star Wars Predator multiverse that I've proposed.
Well, that would be the great
Then it would be
anti-predator weapon.
fine.
Actually, that'd be a perfect anti-predator weapon.
Well, but given the current, Muppet Baby style, like palatable for 6-year-old status quo in the Star Wars universe, don't worry about it, man. Like, I mean, they're pretty much just wiffle bats.
I hear you. We're gonna end this conversation right now before things get personal.
So when you order the Esteban or the Ralph Paul or maybe the stupid Keith Urban package.
Yeah, or any of those ones, the Taylor Swift package or whatever.
Does Taylor Swift have one?
She's periodically had different ones over the years. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know what comes. I know that when you ordered the Ralph Paul or the Esteban Paul, Esteban is from Pittsburgh, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
As you would imagine.
Because Esteban, of course, Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
by the
of
way, I
course.
think the Taylor Swift pack came with like a heartbreaking breakup letter in its side.
It came with a Dear John letter.
This isn't working out for me. Okay, I need to find someone who supports me more than you did.
Thank you for buying this
You
guitar.
know what
but
you did. You know why this isn't going to work.
Thank you for your purchase. Me and this guitar are never ever getting back together. It's yours now.
Yes.
So
Take the money you spent and shake it off.
So
we actually are running marketing for Taylor Swift now, apparently.
hey, that's fine. Hey, if she wants to put us on the payroll, that'd be great.
Dude, I would be in Taylor Swift. You kidding me? Heck
Hey,
yeah.
to be fair, we've always been very positive towards Taylor Swift
I think
on
Taylor
this
Swift
podcast.
is awesome. I will stand on that hill.
Totally
I think
pro Taylor
is
Swift.
great. She's
Yep.
like the only thing that we have going now that's like a major star who's actually really talented as a songwriter and performer who's actually known by everybody. And
plays
who
the
also
guitar.
seems to be a pretty good human being, considering the power and the privilege she has is where she is.
Yeah, no doubt.
She seems to be a real human. You know what I mean? And that's stunning.
There's the authenticity, man.
You know what I mean? And she's what, like 31 or something like that. She's
Right. So she's basically the complete opposite of Esteban and Ralph Paul.
Yes.
So when you buy the Esteban guitar, the crappy Esteban guitar,
Yes.
then
Didn't he co-design it with Segovia? I think that's what he said, right? He and Andres Segovia went to like a retreat in the Maldives, and they worked it out. They worked out the design.
and while having a discussion in a natural hot spring, while centering their chi,
Exactly.
they realized that the future was a home shopping network.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We need to market exclusively to 90+ crowd. People who have nothing to do during the day, that's our target audience.
Right. There's not enough entry-level guitars being sold to the geriatric market.
Exactly.
So this acoustic electric guitar came with like a little electric guitar practice amp. And man, it just if you can just fast forward to the part of the ads where like he's playing like the same quasi Spanish guitar lick.
Yep.
But then he presses the distortion button
Yeah.
and plays the same, like if you like Metallica, and then he presses the distortion button and plays the same like quasi
Spanish
lick.
The thing he knows, yeah.
Fuck, dude, it's the
I think that's the
worst.
thing that he showed Segovia, right? That's like, Segovia is like, oh my God, I can't believe what you're playing. And, oh my God, I gotta, and he's like, yep, this is the lick. This is the one I'm going to introduce Metallica with.
Dude, it's so bad, man.
You know what? I'm torn on that too. I mean, I trust me, Esteban deserves all the ire we can muster.
Yeah, and more.
But that being said, like anything that gets a kid playing guitar, and that's what there's so many packages they'll have like the Slash. Remember like back they did the Slash package with like the Les Paul, the Epiphone Les Paul thing.
Oh well, look, I'm cool with
anything that gets someone want to pick up a guitar is a good thing.
Well, no, I agree to a point. Back when I was a kid, we used to sell. So back in the mid '90s, we sold these Kima brand guitars. They were some of the first guitars that came from China, right? Now, this is not China of now. This is China of 1994, 1995. Like, they were bad.
Yeah.
And, man, you could spend $100 on one of those, or you could save your money a little longer.
Yep.
And spend $200 maybe a few months later, and then get an instrument that won't put up an unnecessary barrier between you and learning.
I mean, God, back then you probably could have gotten like a Japanese Ibanez or something like that for like $500 back in those days. You know what I mean? That's
if we're talking electric guitars, you probably could have got an RG 550 for maybe like $6.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I think the thing that bugs me the most is the dumbing down the learning music process. It's to the point where it's like, this is going to be so easy. You just got to learn these 3 things and you're playing great guitar. It's like, man, that just bums. It reminds me of a conversation we had earlier in this podcast about like the master classes, and they'll have master class with someone like Carlos Santana. Now, I have respect for Santana as an artist. I really do. But that being said, he's not a learned musician, so he doesn't really understand like how to teach somebody because he doesn't really know anything himself. So it's like, saying things like you need to play with feeling and passion. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like, what's an A chord? Like how do I play in the key of G? You're not teaching the language of music. You're just like getting these like platitudes that don't help someone actually learn how to actually play.
No, not at all. Dude.
That's something that always bums me out. Like, oh, you should do is you should play with feeling. I'm like, oh God, I never thought of that. But I should probably know what a pentatonic scale is first.
I should probably know how to fret a note.
Yeah, exactly. Before I try and play with feeling, and it's,
right.
Yeah, and I think that whole process is lost on people who are not musicians. They think, oh, I just got to play with passion. Like when Tom Morello says, I just got to put the cool sound on and just play this over and over again because it's going to sound cool. Like, yeah, but you got to learn chords and rhythm and scales.
Tom Morello can play. He knows chords and rhythm.
He plays with passion.
Yeah.
But he doesn't teach that. You know what I mean? And I think the reason why that is because that's the not sexy part. And
I don't think he speaks out against it either.
No,
Tom Morello is one of the good guys.
He's also smart enough to know that you can't start out the door with that. Because I think also people are coming in with different levels of passion and commitment to playing guitar. And if someone's like you or I when we were kids, like, dude, I want to be freaking Steve Vai.
It was just no question.
Yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Then you could teach a certain way to that person because they're just going to eat whatever you can give them. And then there's another kind of person who just is intimidated by everything and is like their first thought when something is challenging is I quit. And that person, you can't come at them with the heavy commitment thing. You have to come at them with sort of like, okay, well, let's find a way around this kind of thing. And that's not to say that person couldn't turn into someone who's very passionate and wants to really be great. But you have to approach it differently.
I'm sure we've both, and any guitar instructor worth their salt has had success with a student that came along slowly, and that's totally fine. And that can be the most rewarding, right?
Sometimes people come in not very passionate, and then eventually something clicks, and they become passionate about it. You know what I mean? And
so what I want to know is, okay, have you ever heard of the Chord Buddy?
I have not heard of the Chord Buddy.
Oh, this is okay. So this is going to be fun, everybody. So I'm going to introduce Scott to an accessory on this program called the Chord Buddy, and then
is it actually your buddy though, or is it really more the chord enemy?
In the music, we've talked about this on the podcast before. I think just with anything, right? Like if the guitar has special written on it, it's not special. If the guitar says custom on it,
it's not custom.
It's not custom.
Exactly.
Right.
One of a kind.
If it's called the Chord Buddy, it's not your buddy.
Nope, it's not.
So
it's actually plotting your demise as we speak.
So here, everybody. I'm showing Scott the Chord Buddy. Okay, so do you see the accessory there?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so it attaches to the neck of your guitar and like over the fretboard, right?
Yep, and it frets the chord for you.
Yes, it frets so if you press the red button, it'll fret like a G chord.
That's horrific.
If you fret the green button, it'll fret an A chord.
Well, the good news is for everybody out there, it says currently unavailable on Amazon. So that's good. That means someone's doing God's work and making sure these are not available to the public. Yeah, okay,
it's just, okay, so your finger is literally not touching a string at all. You're touching a button that has a bunch of little prongs on it that fret the strings for you.
Well, the good news about that is it's going to make you frustrated to the point where you either just throw your guitar away or you come and find someone to actually teach you how to play proper guitar. One of those two things is going to happen in that scenario.
How can you buy that and not feel horrible about yourself as a human being? I mean,
questions have been asked many times.
How can that not trigger an existential crisis?
It's like when you buy the shake weight. You just what am I doing, man? What's happened to me? No, I agree.
I mean, the shake weight is a weight.
I guess. It looks very inappropriate when used.
You know that had to have been by design. I mean, you know that the inventor of the shake weight. I mean, they did a South Park episode about it.
I remember in Thor Ragnarok, I was watching that, and there's a scene where a character named Scourge is using the shake weight, and I just lost my shit.
What?
He's standing there, like this, like shows like they're in Asgard, and then it cuts to him, and he's like all.
You know, I've been thinking about watching that movie, but I've been putting it off. I'm going to go ahead and dive in now.
It just lost my shit. It looks so stupid. He's like sitting there just shaking, like it was like going, "Oh my god, this looks so inappropriate."
That's the one with Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher,
no, that's
right?
God, that's the Love and Thunder. The Ragnarok's the one before that.
Oh, okay. So I guess I've already seen and forgotten Ragnarok.
I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok. That's rad.
If I tell the truth, I'd like to watch the latest Thor movie. I really don't want to hear "Sweet Child of Mine" again.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential Podcast with Ryan and Scott. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Now back to the show. Oh my God, is it that? That's what's making it? Well, I mean, it's pretty rocking. That movie's rocking, man.
I mean, if I'm honest, I just kind of don't want to hear that song again, and I know I'm going to have to hear it again.
Well, I mean, Sweet Child of Mine is joining a pantheon of songs like Hotel California and Sweet Home Alabama and Back in Black and Stairway to Heaven. One of these great songs that like just have overstayed their welcome. It's one.
Yeah, of those, it's cool, and I don't dislike it in the same way. You know, this was on my list of songs that I don't hate.
Yeah.
That I just never need to hear again. Yep. I wouldn't choose to listen to it.
No, but what's cool about it, it's kind of like the Lil Wayne thing. There's like a bunch of 12-year-olds who don't listen to rock who are going to be exposed to Paradise City and Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine through Thor.
Yeah, I got to give Guardians of the Galaxy credit on that front too.
Yeah,
introducing Kiss to Heart.
It's introducing people to music that they aren't going to. It's the same thing that Guitar Hero did like 15 years ago. Guitar Hero introduced a bunch of kids who were listening to rap to like this is Metallica, this is Eric Johnson, this is Cliffs of Dover. You know what I mean? They're like that's. Van Halen. It actually introduced people to music that they weren't hearing on the radio. Because the radio stopped playing current music in probably 2004. They kind of stopped playing what was current rock music at that point.
Yeah, well, in 2004 was still a pretty bad time.
It was, but that was still, you could turn on and hear like the latest Creed song or the new Fuel song or whatever.
God,
whatever
it was a horrible time.
Whatever the pop music of the time was, you hear like maybe Avenged Sevenfold was around this. They play,
okay.
But they would throw on that. You'd still hear the new song from the new rock band on the radio then. That stopped happening after like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just been a nonstop playlist of like the same 30 songs.
Yeah, playlist.
Into infinity. That's just
infinity and beyond.
Yeah,
like
that's by the same bands who topped out in like 1990. There was like the last thing they put out that was people knew about. That's kind of where it stopped. So every rock band since then has been in this no man's land of internet radio and streaming and like satellite radio, just trying to get heard by whoever you can because the market's so fragmented.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the Esteban thing. The Esteban thing is in a way kind of quaint because that's back in the day when people would watch the Home Shopping Network and see that. And nowadays it would just all be, there's a million guitar YouTubers out there who are doing a similar thing.
And speaking of which, so I guess part of the message of this episode of the podcast is, after you get inspired, whether it's Lil Wayne or sorry, yeah, don't laugh.
I can't even conceive of that. The way he incomprehensibly plays with his thumb and not
man, I'm trying. Okay, so or if you get inspired by like Guardians of the Galaxy or something, so like
watching the new Thor movie or whatever. Yeah,
and if you want to learn guitar, step number 2 isn't like don't buy a chord buddy, don't.
Nope.
Go to your local independent, not corporately owned music store and meet a real chord buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you be your own chord buddy.
Yeah,
what I mean? It's
right.
and learn to do that sort of thing. And I think really there's no. This might seem self-serving as an instructor, but it's like there's really no substitute for getting with a good teacher and staying with him for, I would say you got to at least commit to like 3-4 months of lessons. And then when I say commit to that, it doesn't mean just show up to your lesson. It means you got to commit to going to the lesson and doing what the teacher's telling you to do and practice. If you don't do that, you can't expect things to go well. You have to basically do what you're being asked to do and be consistent about it. And then if you do that and the instructor's worth their salt, like Brian said, you're going to get progress over time. It's not going to happen quickly. There's no such thing as progress in like 2 weeks. When it comes to learning,
it's small progress, and you have to keep your expectations in check.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep. You're not going to play the solo to Stairway to Heaven like on week 3. That's not going to happen.
There's a YouTuber, some kid who's getting his YouTube channel for guitar, lessons up and going. It showed up in my algorithm, but he did an episode where he was talking about things to know when you start. And his it was kind of like when we did the episode about like what counts as being like a beginner guitar level versus an intermediate versus advanced.
Yep.
And his advice was something along the lines of, for the first like 6 months or to a year, just do it on your own. And
I don't know how that works exactly.
That's such bad advice.
Yeah, that's a waste of a year is basically what that is. You know what I mean? And because you don't know what you don't know, and you're not being guided.
Well, dude, it's so much. There's so much time spent with getting people to correctly operate the instrument, like where to put your thumb on your fretting hand, how to hold your pick, and then the consistency of making that correction over and over and over
and
again.
then teaching your hand that until it's natural. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really drove me nuts.
Like they got to distinguish between this is hard and I'm not used to it. They're not the same thing. You know what I mean? It's not hard. You just have to learn how to do it.
Well, and then the encouragement and accountability that you're going to get from your weekly guitar lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So, I mean, there's just no substitute for that. Yeah, that is terrible. I mean, if you go on Guitar YouTube, it's either look at me and how awesome I am with my amazing licks that I worked on in my bedroom, or it's like, guys giving terrible advice, or it's just dudes doing covers and talking about how to play cover stuff. And those guys are fine. There's guys who break down solos and riffs to songs, and that's fine. That's cool. Or there's like the wacky gear guys too, like this is the new plugin I got and I'm going to record a song with this plugin and that plugin, and that's cool too.
I'll bet there's somebody out there like in an open tuning that has like 5 chord buddies on the deck
on 5 different guitars all at the same time.
Oh dude, you could, you know what, if you worked it out correctly, you could tap chords over each other with the chord buddy if you wanted to suck.
Let's not encourage any of that. So
I'm just trying.
But I'm trying to say though, is most of the instruction you see on YouTube though is not good. It's not productive or useful. It's not pointing you in the right direction.
Not if you're a beginner.
No. But I always tell people this too. Like once you get to be like an intermediate to advanced player, then YouTube's an awesome resource because there's lots of cool ideas out there that you can go and glean because you already know all the fundamentals and you can immediately weed out who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. Because you just see it right away. When you don't know anything, you don't know anything. Everyone's the same. But when you actually know, you can say, "Oh, that's a good idea." And then there's a million things you can do, but you've got to get up to like an intermediate level before you can even start doing that. You have to really know your stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The whole advice about when you're starting out, like the first 6 months, you can just pick up all this stuff on your own. Dude, no.
Well, I mean, that might be that person's experience, but at some point they got into a regimen where they really started working at playing.
Yeah, it really makes me feel like the person who did that YouTube video was kind of I mean, you know what? I guess my real feeling was, he's a young guy and maybe a newer instructor.
Yep.
And so just hasn't had all the experience of bringing people up from scratch.
Yeah. Well, either that or it just could be that's their experience and that's how they see it. And then I think that's a terrible way to go. I think you got to approach learning guitar like you would any other skill that you have to learn the fundamentals of it. You got to layer on top of that increasing levels of challenge and complication little by little. You have to do it. It's like any other skill. If you like learn how to type or ski or play football or whatever it might be.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's the same approach you have to take to anything that you do. And the idea that you can just skip that is frankly ludicrous and stupid. That's the whole thing about the Esteban thing. It's like, all you gotta do is learn these couple things and you'll be playing great guitar. It's like
it'll be easy.
Yeah, I mean it's not how it works. Everyone should just know intuitively that's not how it works.
I mean, dude, imagine like if you wanted to play like competitive Street Fighter 2, right? Like, dude, you would never learn the move set for all those characters just by trial and error on your own.
Yeah.
You're just gonna get your ass kicked.
It's kind of similar like if someone said like learn awesome jujitsu in 10 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? It's like Like, oh, just all you need to know is these two things, and you'll be great at jujitsu. You'll be just like, whoever pick your
Royce Gracie.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, whoa, that's cool. I just got to learn two things, and that's all. It's like you should know in your head that's not true.
Just
don't go to the biker bar to try it out.
Right, dude, just go to your local octagon.
Yeah.
And just trial and error.
Just challenge everybody.
Dude, you'll figure out MMA. Just trial and error, man.
It just seems so stupid. It's like it's just so inherently, or like why learn how to go to a golf coach? Just pick up your golf club and start swinging it. It's just as simple as that.
It's like Dunning-Kruger effect in action.
I guess so. I mean, it's just I don't know. I'm perpetually perplexed by humanity in all kinds of different ways. The idea that someone can look at like Lil Wayne playing a guitar solo and say that was awesome. Let's put this on the record.
Well,
that,
hey, you
that
called it though.
me.
If someone's inspired to pick it up.
Yeah. But I mean, the same thing here. Like, oh yeah, guitar is gonna be easy and quick. It's like, well, why would you think that? I don't.
Oh, wait. Maybe the Chord Buddy is made in the USA, Scott.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well,
so there's evil charlatans in the United States too. Sweet.
Yeah.
Same as it's ever been. Keep on rinsing and repeating that one. You know what I mean?
My goodness.
But no, what's funny though is that I actually have experience because like one of the platforms I teach on is called TrueFire, and there's a lot of great instructors on TrueFire, including myself. But not that I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but there's a lot of really good players on that. But I find that the thing that is the best selling stuff is the stuff that doesn't challenge people. And that's something that I find as an instructor is something that bums me out. And it's not anything wrong with instructors because the instructors are doing the courses in the classrooms that they know people want. And it's if any other business you want to give the customer what they're asking for. But it kind of bums me out that the audience, which is generally speaking hobbyist guitar players with some money to throw around, is not terribly interested in being challenged. And I know from experience as a musician, the only way that you grow and get better as a player is to be challenged and to rise to that challenge. You know what I mean? And the idea that you're not challenging them, you're just spoon feeding them this soft pedaled stuff that they want. That you're not doing what's right for them in the big picture. You know what I mean? So I can see Ryan's pulling up a video. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm just.
Are you still on the Chord Buddy?
Okay.
Are you still focusing on the Chord Buddy?
No, not the Chord. Okay, so here's another guitar accessory that I personally cannot stand.
Okay.
Fretboard stickers.
Yeah, that's terrible too. I'll put a corollary that the fret light. That's the other one too.
Oh, that was where the fretboard lit up.
Yes,
like
showing you
different
chord shapes
modes
and scale patterns and things. And it's like, okay, that's cool if you don't want to learn anything.
Okay, and here's the thing: is that I mean, if you're getting I don't remember what the Fretlight guitar sold for, but I guarantee it was an import guitar.
Oh yeah, it was cheap. It was like $400 or something like that.
Yeah, so that I mean, the company building the Fretlight has to make its money back somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be an even worse guitar. If you just taken that $400 and just bought a decent guitar, you'd be way ahead.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's just saying, hey, you don't have to memorize anything. Just let's put these lights on this thing and just go where the lights are. It's like, yeah, but then you pick up a guitar that's any other guitar you can't play because you have to wait for the lights to pop up. That's just inherently dumb. Don't do that. I'll put stickers on my guitar so it's got all the notes on there. Or you could just memorize the notes.
Dude, this one's really bad. It's actually the blues scale fretboard stickers.
Oh man,
I'm not sure in which key, but why would you want only the blues scale?
Well, because that's one scale. It's useful. It's a very useful scale.
Well, it is, but what if you're just constantly playing the flat 5 sharp 4?
Yeah. Anything like that is just I just kind of come back to the entrepreneurial spirit. There's somebody, anything in any endeavor of human existence you could do. There's somebody trying to make make a dollar off that. They'll try and find a way to find some kind of niche they can fill to separate people from their money, and this is one of those niches.
Oh, here's one I forgot about. Do you remember the Hammer Jammer?
I don't remember the Hammer Jammer.
Oh, okay. So the Hammer Jammer is this thing that fits on. I guess it hovers above where the neck joins the body of the guitar, and it's got little hammers that you press down to hammer the strings instead of picking them.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know why that would exist.
It's a thing. Dude, it's like $79. I remember seeing the ads for the Hammer Jammer back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay, now a corollary to that
yes.
is the idea. Actually, I will say that for another podcast. But no, the idea of having something like that where instead of actually putting your fingers on the guitar, you use some kind of intermediary, that is just terrible. That's not going to help you people. Just so everyone knows out there, you are not being helped by having the hammer jammer. Also, if you ever have a receipt and it says you bought a hammer jammer, that's almost like leaving a hotel and it has the name of the movie you rented. That apparently should be embarrassing right there. You need to burn that receipt right away, and then throw also while it's burning into the fire the hammer jammer itself, so that you don't have to have that haunting yourself anymore.
Yes, Dawkins wrote a song about it.
Or maybe you should just nail it with 7 silver spikes into.
Yes, that's right. So it may never rise and cause evil again.
Exactly.
Yes, once again, King Diamond showed us the way.
Exactly right. The hammer jammer must be nailed to a coffin with 7 silver spikes to make sure it never can rise and do evil again.
Yes, dude, nice.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Nice. Did I show you that graphic novel that I bought?
Yeah,
it's the entire Abigail album.
Yeah, I love that King
novel.
Diamond. Dude. That's awesome.
Dude, so this looks so now there's the easy fret and easy chord guitar attachment.
Okay, we should just.
Dude, look at that monstrosity.
We are giving publicity to these charlatans right here, though.
Oh man,
we really shouldn't do that.
If anyone's dumb enough to buy these things,
you know what though? That's the thing. I don't feel like
our listeners are too smart to fall for this crap.
I feel like it's not that they're dumb. I think people just don't know. Like when they start. I mean, okay, I'll give you that. If you're buying the hammer jammer or whatever the hell that is, then you are definitely falling for some guy's charlatanry. You know what I mean? That's just chicanery, whatever it might be.
That's pretty bad. I mean, look, if I weren't a guitar player. I mean, dude, you've got to know that
it is a monstrosity. I'm like, I can't imagine putting that on my guitar. Like, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, but I feel like people who start out though, they don't have any kind of threshold to understand what's right and what isn't right. They just kind of go. They're able to be fooled more easily. It's just like if I walked into, I don't know, like say an archery store or something, and then someone's telling me something like I don't know anything about archery, they would just say this is what you want, and I would just take their word for it. They seem to know what they're talking about. So
okay, but I mean, if there was like an accessory that like pulled the bow back for it, like bow assist,
if
I wouldn't go for that,
and it automatically shoots the arrows.
Right?
For me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have the presence of mind to know that this is not archery.
No, I agree with something like that, like the hammer jammer or something like that. But if somebody told me
the easy chord,
yeah, I think at the end of the day, people just need to recognize that anything that you do, any activity, any kind of thing you're trying to learn in the world period is going to take challenge and work and consistency to get good at, no matter what it is. That should just be intuitive. Everybody should just know that as I walk in the door, I'm trying to learn this discipline. It's going to be a challenging process. It's going to take me a while to get great at it. You just need to learn to accept that's how it is for anything you might do. You know what I mean? And I think that's you just got to start with that understanding and not be willing to walk down the path of all these things that are going to distract you from that. I would actually throw another corollary to that too, is just guitar effects boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's another thing that people like can just get off on these paths where they're buying like flangers, phasers, reverb pedals, backwards pedals, whatever it is. Like did you practice at all? Like that does not help you get better. You know what I mean? That's cool. Like once you can really play, then you can go and buy that cool chorus pedal. But in the meantime, it's just a distraction from what you should be doing. You spent 35 minutes working on dialing that little pedal button in. Like why don't you take that 30 minutes, put it towards learning scales?
Yep. So I hope today's episode of the podcast. I hope there's a little capo out there that feels just a little better.
We're gonna come for the capo. Don't worry. We have another podcast coming out that we're gonna really, really dig our teeth into some of these things.
I mean, we already kind of dunked on the capo.
No, it's got so much more. It's almost
There's
like
so much more.
It's like we've knocked it out, then I'm gonna revive it and then knock it out again.
For what it's worth, I'd rather have a capo than a chord buddy.
A capo plausibly has some useful, applications, whereas the chord buddy.
The chord buddy does not. Right?
Neither does the hammer jammer. I mean, it's just like
no.
It's just I gotta respect some wacky dude somewhere in like Minnesota somewhere has come up in this like metal shop these ideas. And he's like, oh, this is great.
Can you just imagine just like someone who's got like their Esteban guitar package with their chord buddy?
I'm so sorry, guys. If that's you are appreciated.
Okay, I got all my stickers for the fretboard for every note. I got my chord buddy. I got my Esteban guitar plugged into my amp with the distortion turned on,
so you can play Metallica.
Yeah, of course.
That Phrygian.
Well, I mean, Metallica. Okay, you'd be a Metallica fan if you owned all these things.
If you're this person, then you have got nothing but love and encouragement coming from here. But this is like anybody who cares about you. We're going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to tell you what you want.
Right, it's like the tough love episode.
Yeah, exactly. It's because we want you to be successful while we're telling you these things. It's not because we're trying to dunk on you. We're not trying to call you out with how dumb you are. We're just trying to help you be on the right path. It's going to help you.
Think of this as like an intervention.
Yes, help you become a great guitar player, or at least a good guitar player, whatever kind of guitar player you want to be. You need to hear the truth about what it is to learn it, and then you should be able to just find those filters and say, okay, this is good.
Yes.
This is nonsense. By the way, someone telling you to play with feeling is not telling. It's equivalent to telling you nothing.
So here's what you need if you want to learn guitar.
Yeah.
Step 1, you need a guitar.
Yep.
Step 2, you may or may not need a pick.
No, you'll need a pick.
You should have a pick.
Yep.
Step 3, you need
Lil Wayne.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Lil Wayne. Right. That's right.
Yep.
Oh man. Step 3, get a real live instructor.
Yep.
That you see in person in the same room,
And commit to at least 3 to 6 months of lessons. You have to do that, because anything less than that, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. And if
right.
you
Whether that's me or Scott or someone else.
well, really just those two options, just you and
I
me.
mean, it's better if it's me or Scott.
Yeah, that's the only ones that you really should be looking at.
But there's other great instructors out there. So
this is a theoretical thing. I don't think that's actually.
Well, our good friend Thomas Murphy was on the program.
Yeah, okay,
he's a great
I'll
guitar instructor.
grandfather
So
him in.
he's part of the family.
Yeah, there's probably a few of them out there. You know, all my colleagues on True Fire are also great. But that being said, guys, you've got to just commit to it's going to be a process. Take the little victories. Be consistent. Walk the path. I think one of the biggest keys that I've learned in life, and that helps in every aspect of life, is just always focus on the next step rather than the top of the mountain. That's the key to getting somewhere. Just focus on the next step, and don't worry about, hey, I want to play like whoever Sinister Gates or whoever your favorite guitar player is.
Right, and that's really the only way that you're gonna get to the top of that silver mountain.
Yep.
And then when you do, Ronnie James Dio will be there.
And he'll write a song about you, because you will
right.
then be the man or woman on the silver mountain.
That's right.
It's true.
It's much cooler that way.
It's very much true. So, all right, that's going to wrap up. Thank you guys for listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Brian and Scott. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe this podcast. To find out more information about what Ryan and I have going on and check out some of our music, please visit our website at www.xaegisband.com.
That's www.exaegisband.com.
There you'll find links to our social media. Right now, our Facebook is facebook.com/xaegisband, instagram.com/xaegisband, twitter.com/xaegisband, or I guess it's X now.
I guess it's X for X-Aegis. Remember X.
It still comes to the same place, though. So
yeah,
and then you can get all of our updates on new podcasts, album releases. If you want to book, lessons with either of us, you can always come just through that website as well. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.